The views expressed in this program do not necessarily reflect those of this station.
Welcome to Insights into Northeast Michigan, a WBKB News public affairs program. Insights deals with the issues affecting those in the community as well as Northeast Michigan and the state. And now, Insights into Northeast Michigan.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Insights. I'm your host, Lauren Mixon, and today I am here with Dr. John Van Wagner of Alpena School District. He is the superintendent, and he's going to be talking to me a little bit about the bond proposal that will be on the ballot on May 7th. How are you doing today, Dr. Van Wagner?
I'm good. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today.
Of course. Well, thank you so much for joining me. So let's just go ahead and get into the nitty-gritty of it. So the first question I have for you, just kind of the basics, what does the proposal entail?
So there's a lot to this bond proposal. You know, we are the second largest geographic district in the state of Michigan, 604 square miles. You know, as far as the one of the very few school districts that actually encompass the whole county plus part of another, with our element of Presque Isle County that we have by Grand Lake. So you know, when you have that, you have a lot of different buildings across the district, and so we have 10 schools in our footprint. And ranging from some of our smaller 150, 160 students for our country schools, Sanborn Elementary and Ossineek, Hinks and Wilson Elementary. So you know, having that as well as the bigger buildings like our high school of having 1,200 students in it, Thunder Bay Junior High with 900, and then our city schools of Ella White with 475. Besser Elementary is about 450, and then Lincoln Elementary around that 170 mark. So you know, lots of that, along with Sunset School that we've reopened, as well as ACES, our alternative ed high school that we have students, and so lots of buildings that were built in the 1950s and 1960s. High school built in the late 60s. So we have a lot of just aging infrastructure across the district. So you combine the fact that so many of those things just are in need of updating and repair, that are just beyond their life expectancy, along with the safety and security upgrades that we live in a different time now than when those buildings were built. They were built with very open concepts of courtyards and lots of glass. They were, first of all, inefficient, but second of all, and more importantly, security-wise, they're not designed with the ideas of somebody maybe coming that is a shooter, coming with a weapon, and the things we've seen since the 20th anniversary this year of Columbine, where 12 students were killed and a staff member were killed. Things have changed in school design and the way that those things are built. So we're looking to first and foremost make our buildings safe and secure. Second, to update those with those things that are just out of date and their life expectancy is way past. Roofs, boilers, plumbing, you know, all those kind of things to try and just make our schools be what our kids deserve and our teachers to have a quality learning environment.
So needless to say, we have a lot of schools and we have a lot of students. So let's talk money. How much is this going to cost us?
So the bond as it is right now is a 25-year bond that's being proposed that is a $63 million bond. And that is over a 25-year period. And our board did that on purpose because they didn't want to, could have extended out to 30, wanted to try and save on interest costs and not have the taxpayers pay a lot of interest. But when we put our community group together and our architects to take a look at what are the real needs of our buildings, they identified about $120 million in need across the building. So really this takes care of about half of it. But this takes care of the big items, that safety and security, and then the major items that we just don't have the funds from the state to do. Roofs, boilers, plumbing systems, getting rid of asbestos when it's in areas that we're trying to abate it whenever we have an area that we're touching or moving and disrupting that. It puts on secure offices and entryways onto each building. Making sure that there's only essentially one way for adults to be able to come in the building and get checked through a sex offender registry system. And then they are buzzed into the general population of the building. That is standard procedure for any building that's built today or even been renovated in the last decade. So really, trying to do that. And so $63 million spread across all those buildings, in reality, it doesn't go as far as a lot of people might think. And that, to build the high school today, it'd be a $100 million price tag to rebuild Alpena High School. And so just putting that in and making them where they're safe buildings, secure buildings, the $63 million in that 25 years is essentially what the board decided was the element that was needed. And then from there, we can try and be advocating more money from the state to maybe do some of the smaller things as we go around with our budget dollars. But the reality is we don't get very much at all, from our budget to be able to put towards maintenance items. Right now, it's going towards students and supplies and teachers and support staff and buses and bus drivers. That's what we use the money that we get. And the reality is this is the only avenue that our board has to go to the community to ask for those types of things to try and fix them.
Do you think you could give me a range or an approximation of what taxpayers will be paying each month throughout this 25-year period? Sure.
So, right now there's 3 years left on the existing bond from when Thunder Bay Junior High and Lincoln Elementary and a few upgrades in other buildings were made. Essentially, the average household in Alpena County is about $96,000 the value. So about half of that is the SEV value. So the average homeowner is looking at about an $86, $87 increase, which breaks down from a day standpoint, to give you an idea, is about 24 cents a day for the average homeowner. That's less than a half of a cup of coffee at any of our fine restaurants throughout Alpena. So for our kids to have a safe and secure environment, upgraded for 21st century technology and those elements, for less than a half a cup of coffee a day, we're able to do that. So that's what it'll cost the average homeowner. Now, even a lot of people, seniors especially, there is a tax credit for your property taxes that you get when you do your taxes. And so actually on our website, www.alpenaschools.com, where you can call my office and we can run it at 989-358-5040. You can put all your info in for people that are on a fixed income and lower. You can actually put that in there. And with the tax credit, you may have no increase at all, or maybe just a small increase. So again, if you have the internet, you can go right on our homepage and go to that calculator. Or if you don't, you can come to my office and confidentially we'll run those numbers for you, so you know what the exact cost is for you and as the homeowner here in Alpena County.
Mm-hmm. And that's very important. So let's kind of touch on this a little bit. From your perspective, or even just from the feedback that you've been getting from community members, with one bond being up and this one potentially starting up, do you feel like it's asking a lot, and why or why not? And if not, then why do you think that this is worth doing?
I think that anytime you go to the taxpayers and asking for their hard-earned resources, that you really better be able to defend what you're trying to do. And so here, in reality in Alpena, we are one of the lowest funded school districts in the state of Michigan from the state. And that all changed in 1994. A lot of people don't understand, really only about 18% of our money comes from property tax dollars. Most of our money comes from sales tax dollars that the state generates from the 6% sales tax. In 1994, when Proposal A passed, it changed that tax from 4% to 6%. So we are about essentially 78% funded from those sales tax dollars. And everybody asks about the lottery and where does the lottery money go. So schools in the state of Michigan, it costs about $13 billion for the state of Michigan to fund all schools. That's about $1 billion a grade. Kindergarten through 12th grade, 13 grades, $13 billion. The lottery generates about $930 million. So the lottery doesn't even pay for kindergarten in the state of Michigan. So the reality is when you have districts like West Bloomfield that get $12,000, or a Southfield that gets $11,000, or even up here a Wolverine that gets over $8,000, and we get about $7,800 a student, we're at the very bottom. And so a kid from Alpena is less than a kid from in another district, or even Mackinac City for that matter. And you take that with like Fraser Public Schools, for instance, in Macomb County, where you're from, Macomb County, that school district is about the same size as us as students, about 4,000, and they're 6 square miles. We're 604 square miles. Our buses drive from here to Disney World and back in mileage. And I get nothing extra for any diesel fuel, buses, or anything than Fraser gets. And Fraser gets more per student than we do. A lot of people don't realize those funding inequities that we have. So the reality is we spend that $1 million on diesel fuel, they don't. And so that's money that I could be putting into a roof, into a boiler, that we don't have. I have to put 40 buses on the road, 40 bus drivers and that. And so there are real inequities within school funding. And so we're doing the very, very best we can with that. But we will never, at the rate that we are getting state funding, be able to make these kind of major repairs. I don't even get enough a year to fix one roof on one of our buildings at this point. So those are the realities we have.
Well, we definitely covered some hot topics here in this first block, and then we're going to come back and we're going to cover some more very important topics going forward. So we'll be right back with more insights. Hello, I'm here with Dr. John Van Wagner, and we are talking about the bond proposal that is set to go on the May 7th ballot. So thanks again for being here today.
Thank you.
So we covered some really important topics in our first segment here. So let's just keep the ball rolling. And the next question I have for you is, I've been in the schools, I've gotten some shots for stories previously, and you talked to me about some of the hazards. What are some of those hazards that you want to let community members know about?
So, in our buildings, they were built in the 1950s and 60s, a lot of them, and again, the high school in the late 60s. And so we have, it's been no secret that we've had some issues with asbestos where, we had a construction company. We were blessed to get a huge grant from the state of Michigan for our career and technical education program. And we had, a contractor come in and start sanding some tiles that were asbestos. And so, we have issues with asbestos, and a big issue that we have right now, a lot of our roofs, for instance, and a lot of our buildings, when they were put in, the inside of them were sprayed with a 3% asbestos coating. So a problem with that is when it rains, for instance, and we have leaks all over these roofs, when that comes in, it absorbs into that, and that starts to crumble and fall to the ground or fall onto, a tile that's been put in its place, and then that crumbles to the ground. Whenever that happens, we can't just go and clean that up, sweep it up, and put it in a dumpster. We have to call an asbestos abatement company to come in. And to give you an idea, that's cost us a lot of money this year. Well over $100,000 that I could put into a roof just in asbestos abatement of cleaning things up that are falling apart. That's not us going and actually, touching something that is unharmed or not touched. Asbestos is fine if it's not, messed with. The problem is it's starting to deteriorate, around heating pipes and those kind of things now. And when that crumbles and falls to the ground at that point, now we have to legally contact a company. Otherwise, we face a $10,000 fine from the Michigan DEQ for that. So we're being very, very careful with that. You compound that with, we have areas where we've had mold, in basements of, or underneath the foundation of elementary schools. You take heating systems that just, they're steam boilers. So, they'll be 90 degrees when they're, supposed to be 70, and they'll be 50 degrees when it's supposed to be 70 in the wintertime. And the boilers quit. So, we have kids having to wear coats to school in classrooms, and it's just not a really conducive learning environment. We've had issues with electrical systems that are just aged out, especially when you have a room that, was designed to have 2 plugs, and have 30 Chromebook computers that are trying to plug into it. You're blowing fuses and you're burning out electrical sockets. We had the whole high school shut down for us a year ago here, so we only had 3/4 of the building where the electrical would work. So, just lots of things like that. Our schools were just, they need to be upgraded to be able to create the 21st century technology areas, that we need for our kids to compete for jobs now in a global market. We have companies here in Alpena that are starving for, students that have the technology skills to be able to work. And if you look at the car dealers now, a brand new car is a computer on wheels. And so our kids need that kind of technology. So you take those safety concerns, of the basement of the high school that, is now the venting system is not, working right there. Handlers are shot. We can't get parts for them anymore. Our high school football team had a rash this entire summer, football season, and couldn't get rid of it for a while because we just can't ventilate a locker room that's essentially in a dungeon underneath the gym, next to an asbestos pipe closet run that goes through the length of the high school. So, things like that we just, that they didn't know when they were built, but these are things we have to deal with. And there's only, smart ways to do that, like putting the locker rooms on the main floor where you can open doors and actually vent and air those out. So you combine that with the safety and security things, again, of how can we remove a lot of glass or remove as many doors? The high school has over 80 doors. How can we eliminate as many of those as we can with the fire marshal? How can we change that front that has all glass, make it more energy efficient, and use block to be able to have that up there? And again, have some high windows for light, natural light, but have it more safe and secure to where, my biggest fear at the high school is somebody standing out front with a 30-06, deer rifle, and classes in between, and 300 kids are going through that corridor, and somebody just starts shooting off and shooting kids. That's my biggest fear. And so how can we create a front, and we've shown in the newspaper, a different what Alpena High School would look like with that block front. And so just, creating those safe and secure front entrances to where anybody just can't walk through an elementary building. I've personally had to, remove registered sex offenders from our elementary buildings this year that can just walk through the doors. And now we have a buzzer system that at least when somebody walks in, that they can't just open the door, but somebody can be right behind them when they open, a parent opens it, slide right in and walk right down to a classroom. I saw it the other day. We need some kind of system where anybody just can't walk down to a classroom. We have custody issues. I've had people hiding in the woods trying to steal kids that they're not supposed to have custody-wise because we don't have fences around our playgrounds. That's a simple security measure right there that would go a long ways. So, those are those things that we're trying to do for safety and security and those dangers in our buildings.
I know you've touched on the high school quite a bit. What are some of the other buildings that really need attention? So
Ella White is the one that the board really had to really think with and look at, all of the repairs and things that had to be done. It's our largest elementary school. You compound that we have a horrible parking issue there. Number one complaint I get in the district are people that say their driveways are blocked and the roads they can't get through and they can't get out for work. Because it's our largest elementary school. We have a lot of people that drive their kids. We have about 150 kids that walk to school as well there. The largest school that kids really walk to school is Lincoln being second. But essentially, we have a lot of problems there. You compound that with these 1980 boilers, that are steam boilers from the really designed in the late 70s, installed in 80, that are horribly inefficient. Ella White's our second most expensive building to run. Thunder Bay Junior High has twice as many kids and it's cheaper to run than Ella White is. You combine that with the boilers that are rusting out the bottom and water leaking out, as it showed on the Alpena News front page. You have all of those things. So if you look at that building, it was estimated to be about $8 million to bring that up to, up to grade. And the board said community members, as they talked, just didn't feel like putting $8 million into a building that, if a few years from now, may have some foundation issues, mold under the foundation, those things. Just wasn't smart to put good money into something that, in the end, is going to cost the taxpayers more. So, the board made a decision to look at a new Ella White and fix all the parking issues, make it two-story, much more energy efficient, solve all those problems. And then all of our other elementary schools need roofs. We have some that need boilers. All of them need secure entries to that front for security. Putting access locks on them so nobody has a key just to walk in or a window to bust out. Again, playground fences, those things at every elementary. So the important thing about this bond is every single elementary of the 6, the high school, Thunder Bay, ACES are all getting work done in them. So if you're a kid right now in Alpena Public Schools, you will be affected by this bond. With the high school being the largest with $27 million, but a lot going into all of the other buildings. On our website, again, at www.alpenaschools.com, you can click the checkbox on our homepage and it'll show every single thing that's going to be done and the prices for those things that we've budgeted very conservatively because we want to make sure that we're able to do what we say we're going to do. We wanted to make sure that this is over a 5-year project so that we can get the best bids, the lowest price that we can, and hopefully we get lots of attraction from local companies here in Alpena to do the work and keep the money here. None of the money goes back to the state of Michigan. It all stays in Alpena. And again, hopefully we get bids and successfully from Alpena workers to keep that money local. And it's just important that our schools are brought up to a grade where as people are looking to come to our community, businesses looking to expand, new businesses coming in, the hospital looking for doctors. One of the first things that they tell us as they ask is what are the quality of the schools? Academically, and what are the physical qualities? We have great academics. Alpena High School is just named a silver medal high school by U.S. News and World Report. And now we need to make sure we have a facility that matches those academics and the quality our students are possessing as well as that our teachers give to our students every day.
Well, thank you again, Dr. Van Wagner. And when we come back, we are going to talk solutions. Thanks. We want to thank you again, Dr. Van Wagner, for coming in. So really quickly, let's talk about some of the solutions and when people can get out and vote. So when is the voting going to take place, first and foremost, for the bond proposal? So
Tuesday, May 7th is the election. People can vote, at their regular polling spot. Again, for any person that lives in Alpena Public Schools, that includes the part of Presque Isle County, that if you live in the school district, you can vote on this election. It's the only thing on the ballot for this, a special election. We did that specifically because by having it in May, if it were to pass, we have a summer to be able to do things. The best time for us to begin work and start work is when kids aren't in the building. So that gives us a jump start on it by waiting until November. So we're excited to try and have that opportunity. And people can vote absentee ballot, and for the first time in the state of Michigan, you do not need a reason to get an absentee ballot. So today you can call, the county clerk or your voting officials, and they will send you, a ballot, or you can pick one up, and you can actually turn that in right up until actually on election day. So that's new this year. We are seeing an uptick in the amount of people getting absentee ballots. So if you know you can't make it to vote on May 7th, it's a great idea. Again, getting the opportunity to vote and cast your opinion on this is important. The board wants that, people to vote and give that information. So that's an opportunity people have. And so again, up until 8 o'clock on May 7th, or casting by absentee ballot starting anytime before then.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people may be torn. Obviously this is a very important issue, but it does cost money. So I think what a lot of people want to know is, if this bond proposal doesn't pass, then what?
At this point, we don't have a plan B. Our schools are literally starting to fall apart, and we have water leaking, through roofs that have been patched. We've patched the patches, and the water leaking through electrical outlets and stuff. And we have a little bit of money. We have about $4 million that we've had to borrow money every year for the past 5 years just to make payroll. We do not get enough from the state. Our state system is broken. I'm constantly advocating with Sue Aller, our local representative, and Jim Thomas, our senator, explaining the realities of our school funding. We don't have the money, in the bank to just do that. And if we take what we have out at that point, if an emergency happens, we're a deficit spending. We're literally having to report to the state that we're bankrupt. And the district was near bankruptcy 4 years ago. We don't have the resources. And again, with the transportation system we have that we don't get extra for compared to other school districts, we have to put that money into buses and fuel. So we don't have a plan B at this point. At that point, if things start to fall apart, I don't know what we would do. We would have to maybe look at split schedules and kids starting at 6 a.m. to noon, and another group from noon to 6 p.m. And how do you find teachers for that? And it really puts us in some real emergency situations that, the kids in Alpena, they need to feel safe and know that they have a good school and are able to learn without those kind of issues going forth. So, that's something the board would have to grapple with. And right now, I think the board is focused on just trying to be good stewards of the taxpayers' money and explain the need for our kids to have these environments that again, makes Alpena a great place, has made Alpena a great place, and will continue to make Alpena a great place.
Mm-hmm. And for parents and taxpayers who may have any further questions, where can they reach out to get the answers they need?
So again, on our website, www.alpenasschools.com, there's a check mark on the homepage. You can click on that, and all the facts are there. Full transparency. Every single thing at every building that's going to be done, how much it costs, in the different phases. There's a Series 1 and a Series 2 of when it would be done. They can call my office, 989-358-5040. I'll take them on a personal tour. They want to see the water leaking and flooding the basement of Ella White, or if they want to see asbestos pipes or a roof that's leaking or any of those things, don't just take my word for it. I'm welcome to take anybody to see anything they want, answer any questions anybody has. They can also talk to their building principal if they want to tour that building to be able to see what these issues are. We want full transparency for our public to be able to see the realities of what these are, and we'll be happy to talk to anybody about it anywhere at any time.
Well, there you have it. Those are all the facts. Make sure you get out and vote on May 7th. This is a very important issue that is going to influence the lives of our children here in Alpena. So I want to thank you again so much, Dr. Van Wagener, for taking the time to come in. And that was another episode of Your Insights. Thank you for joining us.
Insights into Northeast Michigan is produced by WBKB News. If you have any comments, suggestions, or topics you would like to see on a future show, please email WBKB News. This has been a production of Thunder Bay Broadcasting Corporation. All rights reserved.